Everyone north of Orlando is acting like gardening season's over. But down here in Zone 9, November isn't the end. It's the sweet spot. The sun's finally bearable, the bugs are backing off, and your raised beds are begging for a comeback. So don't hang up your trowel just yet, because there are plenty of vegetables and a couple of flowers that thrive when everyone else has given up. Winter gardening in Zone 9 isn't about fighting frost and snow. It's about taking advantage of cooler weather and calmer conditions. Raised beds warm up fast, drain well, and give you full control over your growing mix, so you can plant right through winter if you play it smart. Here's what still earns a spot in your raised beds right now. Speaking of raised beds, check out this Vigo Gardens metal raised bed. I like showing them because they handle Florida's heat and sandy soil better than wood or plastic ever could. The extra depth lets roots actually live instead of just survive. If you're thinking about adding a bed like that, I've linked Vigo Gardens down in the description. That's an affiliate link, so if you use it, it helps support the channel while you build your own raised bed garden. Now, let's get into what you can plant in Zone 9 right now. Number 1. Lettuce. Every fall, lettuce redeems itself. After months of melting, bolting, and tasting like rubber bands, it finally grows the way it's supposed to. Crisp, sweet, and fast. Zone 9 gardeners have the upper hand here, because while the rest of the country is raking leaves and complaining about frost, our soil is still warm enough to germinate seed overnight. Fall isn't the end of the season, it's the lettuce renaissance. Start by giving your raised bed a quick reset. Scrape off any leftover mulch, loosen the top 6 inches of soil, and rake it level. Lettuce needs loose texture to form clean roots, and raised beds provide perfect drainage so you never deal with the slimy rot that ruins low-lying garden patches. Broadcast the seeds lightly. They need light to sprout, so don't bury them under an avalanche of soil. A gentle press with your palm and a daily misting is all it takes. Within a week, tiny green freckles appear. That's when the real fun begins. Thin your seedlings, early and decisively. 6 inches apart gives each plant enough breathing room to form those broad leaves and tight hearts. Skip the temptation to over-fertilize. Lettuce, fed heavy with nitrogen, grows soft and bitter. Instead, mix in compost or use a gentle, balanced fertilizer every couple of weeks. Keep the surface moist, especially during the first month, but don't drown them. Shallow, steady watering beats flood irrigation every time. Raised beds lose moisture faster than the ground, so short, frequent sessions are the way to go. Pick your varieties by personality. Butterhead gives you smooth, delicate leaves. Romaine grows upright and crisp. Oakleaf is the speed demon that's ready in just a few weeks. Plant a mix and stagger new sowings every 10 days for a continual harvest. When you cut, take the outer leaves first so the center keeps producing. The same plant can give you salads for months, and if a cold snap sneaks in, relax. Most lettuce varieties handle light frost just fine, and the cooler weather actually improves the flavor. While northern gardeners are buying plastic tubs of spring mix in January, you'll be walking out to your raised bed and cutting real greens, living proof that Zone 9 doesn't follow the same rules as anyone else. Number 2. Spinach. Spinach finally redeems itself when fall arrives in Zone 9. All summer long, it acted like a spoiled houseplant, bolting at the first hint of heat, collapsing under the sun, refusing to germinate no matter how much begging or shade cloth you threw at it. But once the air cools and the nights settle into the 60s, spinach remembers what it's for. Those tiny seeds you nearly gave up on will suddenly sprout like clockwork, turning your raised bed into a carpet of glossy green leaves. Start fresh with loose, well-drained soil. Spinach roots are shallow, so raised beds are its dream home. Soft footing on top, fast drainage underneath. Work in a little compost or a balanced, slow-release fertilizer before planting. Sow the seeds about ½ inch deep, cover lightly, and water just enough to keep the top layer consistently moist until you see green. Too much water invites damping off disease. Too little dries out the seeds before they break the surface. Once they're standing strong, back off the sprinkler and let the soil surface dry slightly between waterings. As the plants fill in, feed them every couple of weeks with a mild fertilizer to keep those deep green leaves coming. Spinach loves steady nutrition, but not heavy doses of nitrogen, which make the leaves soft and quick to wilt after harvest. Give it full morning sun, and if late heat flares up, a bit of afternoon shade. Keep the airflow moving. Crowded spinach holds humidity and invites mildew. The payoff for that little attention is a bed full of crisp, clean leaves that don't taste like grit or bitterness. Harvest gradually for the longest yield. Start by cutting the outer leaves and let the centers keep producing new growth. In our mild Zone 9 winters, a single planting can keep feeding you for months. The cooler the nights get, the sweeter the leaves become. Frost won't hurt them. It'll make them better. So while the northern gardeners are defrosting bags of spinach that crossed 3 state lines in a truck, you'll be cutting yours fresh, still warm from the midday sun. One handful in the pan, another in the salad bowl, and the rest standing tall. Proof that cool season gardening down here isn't survival. It's victory. Number 3, collards. Collard greens are the kind of crop that laugh at bad weather and shrug off neglect. In the South, they're not a side dish, they're a tradition, a test of patience, and a badge of gardening pride. And in Zone 9, winter is when they hit their stride. The air cools down, the bugs back off, and these tough greens finally get the respect they deserve. Start them from sturdy transplants or direct sow when the highs drop below the mid-80s. Collards don't mind heat as seedlings, but they'll thrive when nights cool off. Raised beds are perfect for them. They want deep, rich soil and good drainage. Mix in compost or a slow-release fertilizer before planting, then give them at least a foot of breathing room. They grow wide, like they're showing off. And crowding just keeps the air from flowing. Water deeply once or twice a week instead of sprinkling daily. The roots reach down, so make the water worth the trip. Every couple of weeks, feed them with something high in nitrogen to keep the leaves lush and dark green. But don't overdo it. Collards are workhorses, not divas. Once the lower leaves hit a decent size, start harvesting from the bottom up. Leave that central crown alone, and the plant will keep pushing out new growth for months. In Zone 9, a single bed can feed you straight through winter and into spring. The first real cold snap flips the flavor switch. What was earthy becomes sweet, and the leaves go from firm to tender overnight. Northern gardeners have to fight frost to protect their crops. Ours use it like seasoning. A touch of chill brings out the best in collard greens. When you've had your fill of baby greens and kale smoothies, collards remind you what real food tastes like: hearty, smoky, and alive. They're not fragile, they're not trendy, and they don't need special care. They just need a gardener who knows when to plant and when to pick. So let the cold come. The tomatoes can fade, the peppers can call it quits, but your collards will still be standing, green, glossy, and ready for the pot. That's Zone 9 confidence right there. Number 4, broccoli. Broccoli is one of those plants that only behaves when the weather stops trying to kill it. In Zone 9, that means winter is redemption season. The moment the highs dip below the 80s, this fussy brassica turns into a model citizen, steady, strong, and grateful for the mild chill that keeps its head tight and sweet. Skip the seeds and start with sturdy transplants to save time. Work a couple inches of compost or slow-release fertilizer into your raised bed before planting. Broccoli loves rich, well-fed soil. Space the starts about 18 inches apart so the leaves can spread without crowding, and make sure the bed drains fast. Raised beds are your secret weapon here. Broccoli roots hate wet feet almost as much as they hate dry neglect. Water deeply once or twice a week, keeping the soil evenly moist but never soggy. As the plants bulk up, side dress them with a little fertilizer every few weeks. Those broad gray-green leaves are solar panels. The more energy they get, the bigger the head you'll harvest later. Watch the center of each plant. Once the buds start forming, check daily. You want to cut the main head while it's still tight and before the florets loosen. Use a clean knife and leave a long stem. The plant isn't done yet. Within a couple weeks, it'll throw up smaller side shoots. You can keep harvesting through winter. Pests like cabbage worms and loopers might try their luck, but they're slow in cooler weather. A quick leaf inspection every few days or a light dusting of diatomaceous earth keeps them honest. Broccoli can shrug off a mild frost with no problem. A little cold even improves the flavor. By December, you'll be cutting bright, dense heads that taste nothing, like the watery stuff in the produce aisle. Steam it, roast it, or eat it raw. You'll taste the difference immediately. While northern gardeners brag about overwintering kale, you'll be out here pulling perfect broccoli from the bed, proving once again that Zone 9 doesn't just keep growing, it keeps winning. Number 5. Carrots. Carrots are the quiet show-offs of the winter garden. They don't scream for attention or bloom in neon colors. They just take their time underground, turning sunshine and patience into sweet, crisp perfection. In Zone 9, winter is when they finally cooperate. The soil stays warm enough to sprout the seed, but the air cools enough to keep the roots from getting tough. That's a combination most northern gardeners can only dream about. Start with a raised bed that's been loosened deeply, at least 6 inches, more if you can. Carrots will twist and fork around any obstacle, so give them soft, rock-free footing. Rake the surface smooth, sow your seeds lightly, and cover them with no more than a 1/4 inch of fine soil. Those seeds are tiny, so gentle watering is key. Use a mist or light sprinkle to keep the surface damp, not soggy. If it dries out even once before germination, you'll lose half your crop. When the seedlings are about 1 inch tall, thin them to 2 inches apart. That's the difference between full, straight carrots and a tangle of stunted roots. Water deeply once or twice a week, depending on the weather, and resist the urge to over-fertilize. Too much nitrogen gives you feathery green tops and skinny, tasteless roots. A little compost tea or balanced fertilizer every few weeks is plenty. For raised beds, shorter types like Littlefinger or Paris Market are ideal. Small, fast, and tender. If your bed's deep, try Danvers or Scarlet Nance for longer roots. As the days shorten and nights cool, the sugar concentration in the roots climbs, turning your carrots from plain to candy sweet. You'll know they're ready when the crowns start to peek through the soil. Don't yank, twist, and pull gently to avoid snapping the tops. Brush off the dirt and store them in the fridge, or just leave them in the bed and harvest as needed. They'll hold fine through most Zone 9 winters. By Christmas, you'll be pulling carrots while everyone else is scraping frost off their windshields. No root cellar, no snow boots, just clean, bright orange roots straight from the soil. Down here, even our vegetables know there's no reason to hibernate. Number 6. Onions. Onions don't rush. They don't care about your schedule or your impatience. They just sit in the soil, minding their business, turning sunlight into sugar and sugar into storage. For most gardeners, that slow pace is frustrating, but in Zone 9, it's the perfect rhythm. Mild winters, steady sunshine, and enough time to let those bulbs mature into something worth slicing. Winter planting sets the stage for success. Skip the seeds unless you enjoy waiting. Go straight for sets or transplants. Choose short-day varieties. They're designed for southern latitudes, where daylight doesn't last long enough for northern types to thrive. Loosen your soil, work in compost or slow-release fertilizer, and plant the sets about 4 inches apart, with the pointy ends up and just the tips showing. Raised beds make it easy. No puddles, no clay, and no rotted bulbs after a hard rain. Water them lightly but consistently. Onions don't need deep soaks, just regular moisture to keep their roots active. Too much water and they'll split. Too little and you'll get flat bulbs that never fill out. Feed every few weeks with a balanced fertilizer to keep the greens strong, but ease up once the tops start to flop. That's your sign the bulbs are maturing. Through winter, you'll see slender green shoots standing tall, even after cool nights. That's when the underground work is happening. The bulbs swell slowly, soaking up nutrients and converting them into that signature onion flavor. When the top's yellow and winter naturally, it's harvest time. Gently loosen the soil and lift the bulbs. Don't yank, or you'll bruise them. Let them cure in a shaded, breezy spot for 2 to 3 weeks until the skins tighten and the necks dry out. Once cured, onions will store for months if kept cool and dry. No special equipment, no tricks, just patience and airflow. Every slice, every sauté, every caramelized batch you cook later starts right here in the winter, when everyone else thinks gardening's over. So let the northerners huddle around their space heaters. You've got green shoots, rich soil, and time on your side. In Zone 9, onions aren't just a crop. They're proof that slow and steady wins every time. Number 7. Garlic. Garlic is the crop that rewards patience and punishes overthinking. Once you've planted it, your work is basically done. No babying, no special tricks, just good soil, steady moisture, and time. In Zone 9, where freezes are rare and winters stay mild, soft-neck garlic is your best bet. It thrives in our climate, stores longer than hard-neck, and doesn't need a deep winter chill to form big bulbs. Start with firm, healthy heads. Skip the grocery store cloves, which are often treated to prevent sprouting. Break the bulb apart and keep only the largest cloves for planting. Each one becomes a full head next summer. Push them about 2 inches deep, pointy end up, and space them 6 inches apart in rich, well-drained soil. Raised beds shine here. Drainage keeps the cloves from rotting after one of those heavy Florida downpours. Water well right after planting to settle the soil, then ease back. Garlic roots dig deep, so it prefers a good soak once a week over daily sprinkles. Add a light feeding of balanced fertilizer every month through winter. Not too much nitrogen, or you'll get huge leaves and puny bulbs. During cold spells, the tops might pause growth, but underground, the roots keep spreading, quietly building the foundation for fat cloves. By late winter, you'll notice the shoots thickening and the smell of real garlic when you brush them. That's your signal the bulbs are sizing up. When about half the leaves turn yellow and flop over, Stop watering for a week or two to let the outer wrappers dry. Then pull the bulbs gently, shake off the dirt, and lay them in the shade to cure for 2 to 3 weeks until the skins are papery and firm. Trim the roots, braid the soft necks, and hang them somewhere dry and airy. You'll have a pantry full of homegrown garlic that keeps for months. Strong, flavorful, and all yours. No plastic packaging, no imports from halfway around the world. Just the reward of a single afternoon's planting back in winter. Zone 9. Gardeners have the advantage. Soft neck garlic doesn't need snow, just common sense. Plant it once, forget it for a while, and let patience do the work. Number 8. Beets. Beets are the underdogs of the cool season garden. Earthy, efficient, and secretly versatile. Even if you're not a fan of the root, the greens alone justify planting them. In Zone 9, winter gives them the exact balance they want. Cool air to sweeten the flavor and warm soil to keep growth steady. You don't need fancy tricks, just decent soil and a willingness to leave them alone. Start with loose, rock-free soil about 6 inches deep. Beets swell underground, so anything that blocks their path will twist the roots. Mix in compost or slow-release fertilizer before you plant. Then smooth the surface. Sow seeds about 1/2 inch deep and 1 inch apart. Once the seedlings are a couple inches tall, thin them so each survivor has 3 inches of elbow room. The extras make perfect baby green salads. Raised beds give you better control over texture and drainage, and that's the secret to smooth, round roots instead of stringy ones. Keep the top inch of soil moist until germination. Then switch to deeper, less frequent watering. Beets don't like soggy soil. It dulls the flavor and invites rot. Feed every few weeks with a balanced fertilizer to keep the foliage rich and the roots developing evenly. Short-season varieties like Detroit Dark Red or Chioggia do beautifully here, finishing in roughly 2 months. You'll know they're ready when the shoulders start to push above the soil line. Harvest the roots gently by twisting instead of yanking. Small beets are tender and sweet, while larger ones carry that deep, earthy flavor people either love or politely avoid. If you winter into the latter group, sauté the greens instead. They're mild, nutritious, and taste like spinach with better texture. Leave a few roots behind and they'll keep growing through winter, unfazed by light frost. Beets prove that cool season gardening isn't about survival, it's about abundance. One planting feeds you twice, with greens above and roots below. No fuss, no special equipment, just quiet reliability. Whether you roast them, pickle them, or pass them to someone else's plate, they'll earn their spot in your Zone 9 lineup. Number 9. Calendula. Calendula is what happens when resilience meets beauty. While the rest of the garden fades into winter dormancy, calendula refuses to quit. It just keeps throwing out cheerful, orange, and yellow blooms like it's showing off. In Zone 9, these hardy flowers are practically made for winter. They love the cooler air, shrug off light frost, and bloom for months, with almost no maintenance. If you've ever wished your garden still looked alive in December, calendula is your answer. Start by sowing seeds directly where you want them to grow. They don't like being transplanted, and with our warm soil, they don't need to be. Cover them lightly, no more than 1/4 inch, and keep the soil evenly moist until you see sprouts. Once established, back off on watering. Calendula prefers things a little dry between drinks. Too much moisture and you'll get lush leaves, but fewer blooms. Raised beds are perfect since they drain quickly, keeping the roots safe from heavy winter rains. Feed lightly once a month with a general-purpose fertilizer. This isn't a hungry plant. Overfeeding just leads to extra foliage and fewer flowers. The key to endless blooms is deadheading. Pinch or snip off the spent blossoms before they set seed. Do that regularly, and calendula will keep pumping out flowers all season long. But calendula isn't just decoration. It's one of the best companion plants you can grow. The bright blooms draw in bees, butterflies, and hoverflies, while their sticky resin actually repels aphids and whiteflies from your veggies. The petals are edible too. Sprinkle them into salads or dry them for teas and herbal salves. It's a garden multitasker that pays rent in both color and utility. When January rolls around and your neighbors' yards look like dead zones, your raised beds will still be glowing. Calendula doesn't just survive winter, it dominates it. And come spring, it'll reseed itself if you let it, saving you the trouble of replanting. A flower that's pretty, practical, and persistent? That's exactly the kind of attitude a Zone 9 garden deserves. Number 10. Snapdragons. Snapdragons are the cool season show-offs of the South. Bright, bold, and tougher than they look. In most of the country, they're treated like fragile annuals that need protection from frost. But in Zone 9, they're unstoppable. Once the blistering summer heat fades, snapdragons step into the spotlight and own the garden until spring. They don't need babying, just a little attention early on, and they'll reward you with color that makes the neighbors jealous. Start with sturdy transplants rather than seeds to get a head start. Set them about a foot apart in fertile, well-drained soil and full sun. If you're growing in raised beds, you've already nailed their biggest requirement: excellent drainage. Snapdragons hate soggy roots almost as much as they hate blazing heat. Water them deeply once or twice a week, letting the soil dry slightly between soakings. Consistency matters more than quantity. Feed them every 3 to 4 weeks with a balanced fertilizer to keep new spikes coming. As the blooms fade, pinch off the spent flower heads. That's your cue for the plant to send up fresh ones. Don't skip this step unless you enjoy watching them quit early. With regular deadheading, they'll bloom from late winter through spring, shrugging off light frosts like nothing happened. The cooler the nights get, the richer the color. Snapdragons come in every shade from butter yellow to deep crimson, and their upright spikes add height and structure to your beds. Mix dwarf varieties up front with tall types in the back for layers of color. They pair beautifully with calendula. Both plants thrive under the same conditions and create that "how is this still blooming in January" is effect. These flowers aren't just pretty, they're resilient. Snapdragons can take temps in the 30s without flinching and bounce back fast from a cold snap. In Zone 9, they'll often overwinter and come back stronger next year if you cut them back in spring. While the rest of the country's gardens are gray and empty, yours will be exploding with color. Snapdragons prove that cool season gardening isn't about endurance. It's about thriving while everyone else hibernates. They don't whisper, "Winter's here." They shout, "Not done yet!" And that's the real secret of Zone 9. We don't stop when everyone else quits. While other gardeners are stacking firewood and scrolling seed catalogs, we're out here planting, harvesting, and proving the season never ends. So clear those tired summer vines, stir in some fresh fertilizer, and start again. Lettuce, broccoli, calendula, they're all waiting to show off. Down here, winter isn't downtime, it's opportunity. If you liked this video, subscribe to see more. And remember to check out the Vigo garden beds in the description below.